the number of rings match exactly.
Exactly.
And the dimensions from one end to the other. Exactly.
And Plato even wrote in his text that there's mountains to the north and an outlet to the south. So both of those things being there already just kind of seals the fact. But then they also said in the writings that it has an abundance of elephants in Atlantis. Even now, there are still tons of elephants in the same.
Well, I don't know.
And
Another thought.
I think it's underwater.
I feel like we should
Milo.
film.
We are. We're filming right now.
From the movie.
We are filming right now. But you're not Milo. You're
I
like
go straight from Disney facts.
yeah. No, it's okay. Now Disney has some interesting thoughts in their stuff. I watched the movie with my kids the other day, and after I got really into this theory, I was like, you know what? I'll watch it with the kids just so I can watch it. What they use, the words and the stuff that they took from Plato is all correct.
Yeah.
The way, the route and all that stuff, a little different than what the mythos is probably actually like. Because they wanted to make an exciting story.
Yeah.
All credit to them. And if Disney really does work for the government, this would be a great sleight of hand to like say, hey, leave this one alone, and that it's actually in the ocean somewhere, and you guys need to look for it in the ocean. But realistically, it's probably in Mauritania. And especially since you see all the water, like you can see the effects of like water draining out. And in the Sahara, it's already known that there's been giant lakes in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Giant oceans, basically. Giant whale bones down in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Animal life. Rock formations that you'd normally see in coastal inlets. All the way out in the middle of the desert. So if this was all full of water and then something hit on the other side of the world and opened a giant crack into it, maybe, you might have water bleed out from this whole area and go back out to the ocean.
Ripping open.
And that's what my theory is that the Mariana Trench is probably the way that all of this ended up being how it is. Because with that opening up, enough water could fall into there to drop the water level, 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
And 1,000 feet makes a big difference. I've actually done the graphics already for this video, and as you can see, one of them is that the water level actually goes all the way up to the point, if you go up 1,000 feet higher, this is all covered in water. All the way around it, all the way into it, even into the bay where the rings are, all of that's full of water. And then I've looked on our side, and right where we are at is 2 coastal inlets. Right where we are right now is the water from the basically Baja Peninsula, that water that would come up that way, and the water that comes from Los Angeles this way comes right into this section. This is literally beachfront at that level.
Well, that's what they say it's going to happen when the San Andreas goes over, right?
Exactly. And
San Bernardino's going to be beachfront.
So maybe we're not dealing with. Maybe plate tectonics isn't really what happened either, if we think about it, because something drastic could have happened to make all of this.
Trench.
That's what they say, but at the same time, we've never really been able to explore the true bottom of the Mariana Trench either, and how it really functions. They're saying that the way that this fault works is that it's a convergent plate. But the way that the convergent plate works is that it's so deep that it slides under it at, 6-7 miles underwater. How come there's not another one of those somewhere else in the planet?
Well, we don't know.
There isn't. I've looked at every Google Map image of every ocean, and I can tell you right now, there's nothing that deep. They know that there's nothing that deep.
Yeah, Mariana's Trench?
Yeah, that's the deepest point of the ocean.
Yeah.
Flat out. There's nothing else that even gets close in comparison. There's a couple high-rise spots in the middle of the oceans, but nothing like this. Like, even the one in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, which could also be the reason why the water drained away. I'll show you right now.
Mariana's Trench?
So the Marianas Trench is on the far side of the planet.
Right.
Like, it's all the way over here by Asia. It's right there. That big cut. See how long that is?
Fucking huge, yeah.
Yeah. That goes all the way through this section right here. And it's the deepest parts of the ocean. All the way through there. Just miraculously right off the coast of Japan, where Japan pops out as an island.
Yeah.
And it's the Ring of Fire right in that section too.
Yep.
So imagine an impact, something just punching our planet right in that spot.
So
That whole thing would sink, right? That whole plate would sink, and then it would create that convergent plate that we're talking
Yeah.
about. So that's the only way you could have like the lip just dive like that,
Yeah.
so deep. And then you would have all these mountain ranges happen, and then the crack that would happen entirely around there would have volcanic,
Yeah.
immersion happen. So now we would have the Ring of Fire. So
Makes sense.
plate tectonics could be why we have what we have, or it could be that plate tectonics happened because of
That's
a
what-
meteor.
I was just saying, yeah, it's
Exactly.
an effect of.
Well, and I've also heard
And imagine, all right, so now what we know about that meteor, put it in correlation to what we know about our side of our coast, right? So if it hits and
The
that
water's
mountain
going this
gets
way,
shoved
yeah.
up into the air, now you have this giant mountain range that happens right along that ring,
Yeah.
right? But on the other side of our state, the United States of America, it's like more
Yeah.
flat,
Yeah.
right? So all this gets hit with that wave, right, initially. It stops most of it right there. Some of it bleeds to the other side and washes away light ground, and it kind of creates little indentations, but nothing massive.
Yeah.
But that mountain range gets completely annihilated by water and torn into an entirely different mountain range.
Yeah.
Now we have our entire
Yeah.
western seaboard of the United States.
which also makes sense because if you go south into South America, you look at the Andes Mountains too.
Exactly the
You know,
same
that-
thing.
That's all on the west coast of
Yeah.
South America. as
All
well.
the mountains are all on that side. Then we know that the highest points are just on the other side of China, right? So imagine that impact. We've all
Yeah.
seen Armageddon,
Yeah.
right? We've all seen Deep Impact. There's
Right.
two meteors in both of those movies.
Right.
It's fine. There's two meteorites that hit in both of these movies. One of them is a broken piece that breaks off early and comes to the planet, and it's smaller. And that first initial hit does some damage, but it doesn't annihilate the planet
Yeah.
like the other one does. The first initial impact could have been the theorized impact on India and the creation of those mountains. And then we have on the recessive side that now that the lava and all the mantle and everything's been hit by this one meteorite, now the other one hits, bam, and it creates that crack, and both of them kind of shift the whole mountain
Yeah.
range into effect there
That
too.
whole piece of Earth,
hmm
that whole chunk of globe just.
Would just teeter up, and it would sit up high and drain back down into the ocean, which is what you see in China. Same thing. Those are all mountains over there, and it bleeds out inward. Same thing. So, meteorites possibly caused our planet to be the way it is. Even our magnetic pull, if you think about it, if
Yeah.
there's certain metals or certain magnetic
If it's a
properties
large
to that
chunk
metal,
of iron, yeah, it's a large chunk of iron that comes in.
and
Or
so we could be thanking meteors for us having the planet that we have today, or we could be scared that another one's going to
Yeah.
hit and take everything away from us that we know.
I have one question for you then.
Okay,
How then do we have the Alps?
Or what's it? Biggest one. Everest.
Everest
that's
is,
the part of
One of
that,
Alps.
the one that I was explaining before. I thought about the Alps at first too. The direct correlation and marking on the other side of the world could be that might have been just force coming from that other side of the planet and pushing it up. So
Say that again?
impact. All right. So when a bullet hits something, right?
Mhm.
When it hits, it has an exit wound normally, right?
Okay.
But if it had something that was melting it down and slowing it down as it was going through, that might push that lava forward and create that outcropping on the other side.
Did it.
So
You know what I'm saying?
So-
It's
And
almost
then-
an exit wound, but it's not quite. So it's just the backside.
It's a
being
protruding.
bulged out.
Yeah,
so kind
exactly.
of like when you shoot like a screen door with a BB gun.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And so, if you go across the, that's actually
Yeah.
that is a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
analogy. Actually, that is a great analogy.
I've never done that.
And the reason why I say that too is because of the North Atlantic Ocean, or so basically the Atlantic Ocean in general has a giant crack that goes through it. It's hard to see, but that's what it looks like. This crack, and this is a divergent plate. So convergent plates come together, divergent plates
Pull apart.
pull apart. And that's why the thought is that when that impact happens on the other side of the planet, it tips the water starts running out, and now over time we're confused because the protruding of all that lava still having that force coming up on the other side is pushing the Atlantic Ocean apart slowly over this time. And our Pacific Ocean on the other side is getting smaller. Paying attention to what they said about plate tectonics was what led me onto this. Because I was like, I don't get it. How is that possible that there's so many different... Like, how is this a desert now when it was supposed to be an ocean? How would that even be possible?
Well, not just an ocean, but it's also like super green and lush.
it is. It
much
was,
like Southern Africa.
And then I started thinking about the connections of pyramids and how they've all talked about how there's all these pyramids across the world, right?
Nodal
If-
points, as some call
So plate tectonics spreads the Atlantic
seriously.
Ocean apart,
There's
right?
there's a theory that there's a geometric grid that surrounds the planet, and it's an energy, and the ancient civilizations realized and recognized this, and that's why there's a bunch of army bases are the same thing, because they go off of sacred sites within the planet that has certain points of benefits type.
Easy to remember locations too, like repetitive. Latitudes and longitudes. You get the same ones over and over and over and over and over again. It creates an easy to remember code for you as a pilot too. Like if you're flying back to base and you have to use latitude and longitude to find your way back home. That's the easiest way, is having generic directions too, right? Exact spots, like a pyramid being exactly on this zero parallel with their history and the zero parallel across too. It's the north. It's true north facing.
Yeah.
And so same with the Göbekli Tepe, which is what I was talking to you guys before we started. 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago is when they said that this civilization might have occurred.
Yeah.
Well, and they're not even saying it's a civilization. They say it's a burial ground. But it's a massive burial ground. If this is a burial ground. No, this is...
Then the
We're talking about like...
civilization
it is 8-9 miles across. Okay, that's not a civilization. 9 miles across is already, the size of Beaumont at least. And you think about this. You couldn't call this a civilization. People living together in a community.
Yeah.
That's a civilization.
Yeah.
So, advanced technologies, maybe not. We don't know at this point. But if they were able to cut rock and make pillars and do art on rock, they must have had some kind of technology by that point.
Well, not even that, but like they're doing precision cuts that we can't even replicate today.
Well, especially the pyramids. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's what.
That is, yeah.
All right, and that's why I think that Atlantis had to be real. There's just like what they say with evolution. There's a missing link, right? There's a missing link in our history, and there's a bunch of information missing. And I think that Atlantis holds the missing piece in all the connection for this, because every place around the world has deities and things from above coming down to earth to wreak havoc and cause destruction.
Right.
And how is this meteor, could a meteor have happened and them see it and then know about it and then write and record it over history over this much time? And then the flood could even be God's fury, which could be, God coming down from the skies and destroying and taking their vengeance upon man. We don't know at this point. And that's where I'm just mind-boggled at this point. And we need to keep having more discussions about this because there's so much more.
There's so much
Yeah.
I still want to hear your theory as to why you think it's in the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, aliens.
Alien.